Hey Valley, this is a tutorial for 5.5b, multiply mixed numbers. This is a tough question, or this is a tough target. Here are the things you need to remember. First of all, you're going to have to make your mixed numbers into improper fractions. I'll just put down improp. After you make them into improper fractions, you're going to just multiply straight across. And the third thing you're going to have to do is you're going to have to simplify that last fraction or reduce it. I'm just going to put simplify. It's a better choice of words. Simplify your answer. This one here is going to involve division, which is a struggle for some kids. All right, so a 1 2/4 times 3 5/6. All right, well, first step says make it into an improper fraction. So I'm making it into an improper fraction by multiplying down 1 times 4, and then I add the top. Plus 2. 1 times 4 is 4, plus 2 is 6/4. I'm going to multiply that by, I got to make the other side into an improper fraction too. 3 times 6 is 18. 18 plus 5 is 23/6. So I've reached the spot where I've got the first step done, and I just have to multiply across and reduce. Now, I notice right away that I can cross-reduce and make my job at the end of this problem a little bit easier. 6 divided by 6 is 1. This is called cross-reduction. 6 divided by 6 is 1. Now my new problem is taking 1 times 23 and 4 times 1. That's a lot easier numbers to multiply with. So 1 times 23 equals 23. 4 times 1 is 4. But I have 23/4. I still have to simplify that, and that's going to involve some division. So I'm going to set it up. 23, I'm going to divide it by 4. 4 does not go into 2, it does go into 23. I know that 4 times 5 is 20, and that's my closest multiple of 4. So I'm going to put that down. I'm going to subtract out, and I can see my answer sitting there. I'm going to do this one in a different color. The answer is 5 wholes, oops, this is blue too, I guess, and 3 parts out of 4. Now, it's kind of hard to remember that, but we know that the top is always the answer to the division problem. So this is equal to 5 wholes, and you've got 3 parts remaining out of 4. So here's my answer to that first problem. 5 3/4. All right, let's go ahead and do number 2. Can you remember what the first step is? Make it into an improper fraction. So 1 times 6 is 6, plus 1 gives me 7/6. I've got to multiply that times 2 times 12, which is 24. 24 plus 6 is 30/12. Okay. Once again, I can look and I can see this spot right here. These two numbers, they both share a common factor. They share a couple of common factors. They share 2, they share 3, and they share 6. The bigger the number, the easier the work. So let's divide both of these by 6. 6 divided by 6 is 1. 30 divided by 6 is 5. And we'll look the other way too. I can't do nothing with 7 and 12. The only factor they share is 1, and that's not going to do me any good to divide by 1 because I'm going to get the same answer. So I can multiply straight across. 7 times 5 equals 35. 1 times 12 is equal to 12. So I have 35/12. It's top heavy. Think of an ice cream cone. It's too big on the top. So we're going to divide that out. We'll take 35. We're divided by 12. Well, 12 doesn't go into 3. It does go into 35. So I got to think of my multiples of 12. It goes 12, 24, 36. 36 is too big, so I'm going to have to go with the second multiple, which is 24, and then subtract. Sorry, I moved that over just a tad. 5 minus 4 is 1. 3 minus 2 is 1. So there's my answer again. My answer is sitting here. It is 2 wholes. Went in there 2 whole times. There was 11 parts left over out of 12 in a whole. 2 and 11/12. All right. Keep rolling. The next one, we have 2.5 times 3 4/5. Well, 2.5, I can go 2 times 2 is 4 plus 1. This gives me a total of 5 halves. And I'm going to multiply that by 3 times 5, which is 15, plus 4 is 19 fifths. Here's my problem. All right, I'm going to look and I can see right away I can divide by 5 here. I can make my numbers so much smaller by cross-reducing. 5 divided by 5 is 1. 5 divided by 5 is 1. Okay, now I've got a new problem. 1 times 19 and 2 times 1. I changed my fraction. So 1 times 19 is equal to 19. 2 times 1 is equal to 2. So I'm sitting here with 19 halves. Let's go up here and divide. 19 divided by 2. 2 doesn't go into 1, but 2 goes into 19. You got to know those basic facts. It'll go in there 9 times, because 9 times 2 is 18. We've got 1 remainder. So there's my answer sitting there. It goes in there 9 holes. You've got 1 part left over out of 2. So I can highlight that. Okay, let's see if we can get one more done here. All right, 3 1/3 times 1 4/10. Make it into an improper fraction. 3 times 3 is 9, plus 1 gives me 10 thirds. 1 times 10 is 10, plus 4 gives me 14 tenths. Well, I see right away I can divide by 10 here, so 10 divided by 10 is 1. 10 divided by 10 is 1. I can't do anything about 13 and 4, but here's my new problem. Now I'm multiplying 1 times 14 on the top, and that gives me 14. 3 times 1 on the bottom gives me 3. 14 thirds. So I got to go up here. 14 divided by 3. 3 does not go into 1. 3 goes into 14. 3 times 5 is 15. That's close, but too big, so it's got to be 4. So 3 times 4 is 12. And after I subtract that, 14 minus 2, there's the 2 remainders. So now I'm looking at my answer again. We've got a total of 4 holes, and we've got 2 parts left over out of 3. Remember, the remainder you talked about in elementary school is how many parts are left over. That's the numerator. So it goes in there 4 times. And we've got 2 parts left over out of 3. There's my answer to that one. In the words of Forrest Gump, that's all I got to say about that. All right. We'll leave that right there. I'm just going to pause this and I'll continue with it later. Period 3. Okay, continuing on here, we're going to take and make this into an improper fraction. Once again, we multiply down and add the top. 3 times 4 is 12, plus 3 gives me a total of 15 fourths. We're going to multiply that times. 3 times 9 is 27, plus 2 gives me 29 ninths. I can't do anything diagonally here, but this way I can divide by 3. 9 divided by 3 is 3. 15 divided by 3 is 5. So now I've got 5 29ths. So 5 20s would be 100. So that's going to be 100 plus 5 9s is 45. So this is 145. And 4 times 3 is 12. So I have 145 twelfths. So I'm going to divide that out. So 145 divided by 12. it goes into 14 one time. You've got 12. Subtract, you got 2 left over. I'll bring that 5 down. You got 25. 12 goes into 25 2 times. 24. You've got 1 left over. So it looks like 12 with 1 out of 12 parts remaining. So it equals 12 holes, and there's 1 part left out of a total of 12. Again, if you're using this as a tutorial to get your homework done, that's great. You just have to show the work. Okay, number 6. Do that one. We have 3 and 5 6 times 2 and 1/2. Let's make them into improper fractions. That's our first step. 3 times 6 is 18. 18 plus 5 gives me 23 sixths. I'm going to multiply that times 2 is 4. Plus 1 gives me 5 halves. Well, I don't see anything we can do this way. I don't see anything we can do this way. Let's double check our fractions. 3 times 6 is 18. 23 sixths. 2 times 2 is 4, plus 1 is 5 halves. Yep, I've converted them right. So I can't do anything with 23 and 2 or 6 and 5, so I just got to multiply them across. So 5 20s would give me 100, and 5 3s would give me 15. So this is 115 divided by 12, or 115 twelfths. Let's go ahead and divide that out. So 115 divided by 12, so we got 115 in the house. So that divided by 12, this just stinks here because 12 doesn't go into 115, or doesn't go into 11. So I got to go, all right, well, 12 times 10 would be 120, and that's going to be too big. So it's got to be 9. We've got to go off to the side here and multiply 9 times 12. So 9 times 2 is 18. 9 times 1 is 10. 9 times 1 is 9, plus 1 is it's 1008, or 108. So that's going to be 108. We subtract it out. We're going to have 7 left over. So our answer is 9 holes and 7 12s. All right. Okay, number 7. Put it into improper fractions. 1 times 2 is 2, plus 1 is 3 halves. Multiplying that times 3 times 2 is 6, plus 1 is 7 halves. A little bit more reasonable numbers here, but again, we've got nothing we can do to reduce that. I can't do anything with 7 and 2 or 3 and 2, so just multiply across. 7 times 3 is 21. 2 times 2 is 4. We have 21 fourths. This is a little more reasonable. 21 divided by 4. Well, it goes in there 5 times, which is 20. We've got 1 left over, so here's my answer. 5 holes and 1 part remaining out of 4. Okay. 1 and 8 twelfths times 3 and 2 tenths. Well, I could probably reduce those fractions into 2/3 and 1/5, but I'm going to go ahead and do it the long way. So 1 times 12 is 12, plus 8 is going to give me 20 twelfths. We're going to multiply that times 3 times 10 is 30, plus 2, we've got 32 tenths. Let me run that one more time. 3 times 10 is 30, plus 2 is 32 tenths. All right, so now I can do some division here. I can divide by 10 here. 10 divided by 10 is 1. 20 divided by 10 is 2. This one I can go both ways. So let's see. I can divide this one by 2. I can divide it by 4 as well. I wish I could divide it by 8, but that's not going to work. So 4 is the biggest number I can divide it by. So 12 divided by 4 is 3. 32 divided by 4 is 8. So here's my new problem. I got 2 times 8 on top, which is 16. I have got 3 times 1 on the bottom. I've got 16 thirds. Let's divide that out. 16 divided by 3. Well, I know that 5 times 3 is 15. I got 1 left over, so there's my answer. It's 5 holes and 1 part remaining out of 3, so equal to 5 1/3. So you have to try those last ones by yourself. There's about 6 remaining. I've done the first 10 for you. Give them a shot. Even if you can't do the division, you can at least get to this answer right here, which is the improper fraction. You can convert and get to that. And then oftentimes you will be able to look and try to derive the answer on a multiple choice from that. But we really, at some point in time, we've got to learn how to divide. Thanks for listening.